Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about credit reports, pre-approvals. Actually, we're going to address the question of how long a pre-approval lasts. We're going to touch on what not to do when buying a house with regards to your credit and why the pre-approval process should be started before the home buying process. So a lot to kind of wrap up in one video. But if you're buying a house, all of this stuff is really, really important. So I want to touch on each of it just a bit to help guide you in the right direction. Before we get started, I'm Jeb Smith, Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage here in Huntington Beach. And do me a favor, if you like these videos or want more of this stuff, hit the subscribe button. And if you like this when watching it, hit the like button as well. As I've mentioned a couple of times, it helps me get out there so more people can see it. And that's my goal, is to help educate. So let's get on to the first question that I ask is how long does a pre-approval last? So traditionally speaking, a credit report, when you have your credit report pulled, which you're going to do with the pre-approval process, that credit report is good for 90 days. So essentially your pre-approval is more or less good for 90 days. But what I tell buyers all the time is that if nothing has changed in your credit profile, you don't necessarily have to go back and have your credit pulled again just to make sure all is good. I would say if everything is still pretty much the same, you haven't gotten any new credit cards, you haven't missed any payments, you've been paying your bills on time, if you've been approved for an amount, I would say you're probably pretty good to roll past that 90 days. But once it gets out 120, 150 days, yeah, you do want to get an updated pre-approval just to make sure you're not wasting your time by going out and looking at properties and actually not being pre-approved. So that's going to bring me to our next question is, why start the pre-approval process if my pre-approval is only good for 90 days and I'm not sure if I'm going to buy or find a property in 90 days? Why am I doing the pre-approval process now? And if this could be a very lengthy video if I go into a lot of detail on that, but essentially you want to make sure that you're actually a qualified buyer to actually go out and look at property. And the only way to do that is go through the pre-approval process, right? Have a mortgage broker, a lender review your tax returns, review your credit, look at your debt to income ratio, all of that good stuff to find out how much you can afford, so that you can actually go out there and look at properties in the right price range. And without going through that process, a lot of people, I've worked with many buyers over the years who have thought that they were approved for more and were not once they went through the process, and vice versa, thought they were approved for a lot less and found out they could afford a lot more. And so that's why it's important to go through that process just to see where you stand. And, if you don't find a property within that 90-day period, don't sweat it. Just have your credit updated, 4 or 5 months into the process and continue the process looking and have that security of knowing that you're qualified up to whatever amount it was when you got pre-approved. So that's why it's important. And I would always recommend that's where you start. Before contacting a realtor, or contact a realtor to get a referral to a mortgage person, but don't start the home searching process. Don't go out and start looking at open houses. Don't start looking online until you've done that, because honestly, it's going to set you up for failure. In my experience, it's a lot of people look in the wrong price ranges when they haven't been through that process. So please start with the pre-approval process. It is super important, and that way, if you find the right property, you're already approved. You have that letter. You don't need to work backwards and get pre-approved after you found the property, risk losing it, so on and so forth. So next topic I mentioned was credit score, what not to do when buying a property. So seen it many times. People get pre-approved up to a certain amount and they're happy. They go into escrow, all is good, and they decide to go buy a car, or they decide to go out and get Living Spaces credit cards because they want to furnish their new property and what have you. That's a big no-no. You don't want to change your credit profile after you've been pre-approved if you can help it. And if you do, for whatever reason, get a credit card, get anything, make sure you update your lender so that they know what's going on, so that they can rerun the scenario just to make sure you qualify. I've seen it happen many times over the years where people are approved, we're in escrow, they go out and change their credit, and all of a sudden they no longer qualify for that property because their debt to income ratio has exceeded that maximum amount, because or they've gone out and applied for several credit cards or whatever at one time, and it's hurt their credit score, and their credit score has dropped. So you just want to make sure you're not changing your credit profile once you've been pre-approved, because at the end of the day, it could affect you. And it could really change, it could be the difference between you buying a house and not buying a house. So that's why it's important. And I know we kind of got off on a tangent here talking about the pre-approval process and how long your credit is good for, but all of these things kind of tie in together. So I hope that is helpful. But if you do have additional questions about credit scores, loans, pre-approval, any of that stuff, do me a favor, comment below. If I don't have the answers for you, I will direct you to the right mortgage professional who can address those for you. But more than likely, I can help you out. So comment below, or feel free to contact me directly. Would love the opportunity to help. So as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we will see you again real soon. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.